Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to our channel. Today we have a very special guest, Kwamboka Akama, who is a good friend of ours and who also happens to be my cousin. Maybe Kayla, you can tell us what we're talking about today, and then Kwamboka can say something about herself after you introduce the topic.
Okay guys, so today we are talking about something very juicy, okay? As the title of the video suggests, we are talking about enemy boyfriends. So our hope is that this video gives you a little bit of insight if you are with an enemy or if you're with a real and true partner who wants the absolute best for you, okay? So that's what I'm going to give at this point. Kwamboka, please tell our beautiful viewers a little bit about yourself.
Thank you girls. Can I just start by saying that I'm happy to be here. I love you guys. I missed you.
We missed you too.
It's been a long time coming.
And I'm happy to be here. So my name is Kwamboka Akama. I am an advocate, a lawyer, but most importantly I'm a sister, I'm a friend, and I just love women and girls all around. So I'm happy to be here, and yeah, let's learn.
Fantastic. Okay,
that's a nice intro.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay guys, let's get into the meat of the matter. Okay, so we are talking about manipulators, gaslighters, narcissists, and everybody else that falls under the category of an enemy boyfriend. So at this point you're probably asking yourself, how does my boyfriend classify as my enemy, right?
Yeah.
It's almost an oxymoron of sorts, right? And in case you're confused, we want to start off by defining who an enemy boyfriend is.
I think Kayla, you're the best one to define this, because if there's one, you know, even when she was doing the intro, she was like, the gist you have, the juice you have. She's very passionate about enemy boyfriends, and I also learned about enemy boyfriends from you.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No
so maybe
way.
you can tell us what
I
an
also
enemy
got that
boyfriend
statement from you because I use it a lot.
Really?
And I remember like in 2020 back then I was like, you know, it's possible you can be dating your enemy Annette, and I was like, oh,
how?
Okay, yeah. So I got it from you as well.
Okay, so from my own, I think my own made-up definition, right? Because I don't think there's a stringent definition exactly about what an enemy boyfriend is. Okay, so an enemy boyfriend, if you find yourself in a situation where, first of all, you feel like the climate of the relationship is changing, and ideally you would think that a boyfriend is somebody that will support you, right? Someone who will be in your corner, somebody who is invested in every aspect of the word, in your well-being, your growth, and all that. But the point that your boyfriend becomes your enemy is when there's a shift in the relationship, right? When you start feeling like you're with a partner that's manipulative, when you start feeling like you're with a partner that is competitive, when you start feeling like you're with a partner that is not necessarily in your corner, then you can fully establish that you have an enemy boyfriend. So other than the definitions, we're going to be giving characteristics so we can kind of expand the definition, you know, because I feel like it's a very wide definition of the word, and we're going to be giving you characteristics and the things based off of our own experiences and based off of the research that we have done, that we feel like would categorize your boyfriend as an enemy.
Okay. So maybe I can start with the ones who are manipulators.
Okay.
So I think for me, manipulators are people who, they try to make you doubt yourself. Okay, but you see, there's a big difference between manipulation and gaslighting, and sometimes we confuse it. Yeah. So what do you think, Kwamboka, is the difference between manipulation and gaslighting?
I think gaslighting is a very high-level, sophisticated form of manipulation. Gaslighting is where you try and essentially make a person question their own sanity and how things happen. So gaslighting for me is a very high level, sophisticated form of manipulation, because manipulation in its simplest form is trying to deviate a certain course of action or certain sort of thinking to be able to benefit yourself against another person. But for me, gaslighting is very intentional, systematic, consistent denial of facts or of a person's experience that they know to be very true. They know to be very true. but you have the other person on the other end denying, cutting, copying, and pasting events and history to a point where you start questioning yourself.
Yes.
And the difference between manipulation and gaslighting is where the voice of the gaslighter lives in your head. It lives in your head. I mean, long after that conversation, long after that encounter, the voice is still in your head, and they're rewriting events to the point where you start now, it has an effect on you. You start then asking yourself, was I dreaming that up? Did that really happen?
Yes.
You know?
And I would say another difference is that when it comes to manipulation, sometimes you can't anticipate it, you know? It kind of, like, it just happens. But then the same thing that you've said about the voice of the gaslighter living in your head, if you find yourself in a relationship with a partner where you can already anticipate their reaction, it's like, to something, then you know that that person is a gaslighter, you know? So it's like you're scared of bringing up an issue to your partner because you can already preempt their reaction. So that makes you afraid, or rather apprehensive, about even bringing up displeasures or discontentment that you have in the relationship. Because you're just like, you know what, I don't want him to paint this as it's a me issue, or I don't want him to make it seem like I'm this or I'm that, right? And the reason why that's different from manipulation, because I feel like sometimes manipulation is spontaneous. Like you can't see it coming sometimes. And that's why it really catches you off guard, and it makes you really question if you're being manipulated or not, you know? So sometimes you're not really sure, like, is this situation manipulative or am I just tripping, you know? But I feel like gaslighting, and why you've called it a higher or a more sophisticated form of manipulation, is because of that consistent aspect of it. So I completely agree with you.
I can give an example of like gaslighting. I remember I used to have this partner, there's not even a partner, some person who was in my life at the time, and I brought up the issue of we would go places together, but we would not act like we were together. So I would be like, oh, you know, I feel so strange when we go to these places and we like sit in different corners and we don't hang. And then he was like, you know, he started trying to paint me as an insecure person. So every time, even before we would go to the place and I would bring up the issue, I would start thinking, oh, he's going to say I'm insecure. So, and he would consistently show me that every time you bring up an issue, I will show people, or I will tell you that you're insecure. So I started to experience things really differently. So instead of allowing myself to feel bad, I would think, ah, Mora, you're just being insecure. So maybe don't bring it up the next time. Is that like gaslighting? So he would really make me doubt my reality. Like, maybe I'm not being reasonable. Maybe what I'm expecting, it's a lot. And he used, I usually feel like gaslighters also do this. They ask you, you look at other people. You say, no, look at them. Do you think they are?
They're concerned about those
things. It's only you. No one cares except you. And it's like,
one thing to
fact that I
isolate
care,
you.
but the fact that I care should be enough.
Absolutely.
So that was, I think that's a kind of gaslighting, right?
No, it absolutely is. And I feel like sometimes you find that gaslighting and manipulation can be occurring at the same time, right? And even it doesn't matter, because I would say that I'm a woman who has achieved a level of self-awareness, right? And just a confidence in my identity. And I would find myself like in situations with someone that I'm seeing, and not even seeing like casually, like my actual boyfriend, right? Someone I'm completely official with, and because I know how I deserve to be loved, and I know like my love languages, so I'm not operating from a place of confusion, right? I'm not coming to you placing this responsibility on you that, okay, fine, you need to make me happy, and you're like, okay, fine, how do I do that? And I'm like, I don't know, just make me happy. You know, I'm literally giving you the playbook on how to make me happy, because I know that for me, words of affirmation is my love language. So I tell you, I want to be affirmed more. I want to be loved in this certain way, right? And then someone comes with all the shoulders to me and to be like, do you have an insecurity issue? But because you want to be affirmed.
You expressed how you want to be loved.
Because I expressed how, and then I feel like in that situation, a lot of women can be manipulated into thinking, wait, Why do I need to be constantly told that I'm beautiful? Why do I need to constantly have a partner that's affirming me? Maybe I do have an insecurity issue.
Yes.
But then in that moment, what that person is communicating to you is that they're actually struggling to love you, and they don't have what it takes to do exactly what needs to be done.
They're not equipped to
They're
love
not
you.
equipped to love you. And why it's so important, I think, and we're going to cover this at the end, about if you find yourself in that situation, how do you get out of it, or how do you maneuver it? Having a sense of self-identity and self-worth is so crucial when you're dealing with these people.
Yeah, but I also think that it's important for us to say that sometimes, and most times actually, the older the guy is, the more sophisticated he is in the methods of manipulation and gaslighting.
Yes.
The way he will twist you. You think you're wise, you're 25. You can't beat these people. That exam you want to give him, he has done it. He has the marking skill. He's like, bring it. I've seen this.
You know, and the funny thing is, Mara and I were actually having a conversation about this, Kwams, the other day. And I was telling Mara, it's like these people, can you imagine, guys, if you sat for KCSE every single year? Like, it will even get to a point.
2 times, because they have like 2 or 3 partners a year, so you do KCPE 3 times or 2 times every year.
By the time you're sitting for, you can even do it blindfolded. You don't need to be, you don't even, you know where the pen is, you know where everything is. Like, by this point, you're just kind of just swerving through it.
And so I feel like that's important to say. And also, like, power dynamics create it's a fertile ground for manipulation. So when someone is high powered, then they have a lot more than you, and they know that you know that they have more than you. So let's say you have this boyfriend, he's older and he's much richer than you. The way he can manipulate you, it's another one, because you're not only depending on him for emotional support, I don't know what, but also money. So he knows he has all these powers over you. He's dangling it over you, and he's like, now you tell him, oh, you know, why didn't you call me on Friday? He says, some of us, we have to work. I had to work because, you know, I need to be able to provide you all these things that you need. How do you want me to do that if I'm not working? You see, and then you start thinking, like, I need him to work so that he can have money so that I can do XYZ.
That's also a form of manipulation, a subtle form of
manipulation.
Yes.
So I think I would just want people to be careful of that.
What I can also say is, it's not only just guys with money. Some not so well-to-do gentlemen also use manipulation. I'm avoiding
Guys, you need to know, Kwams, she's the angel between me and Nora. She's
the worst one. The broke.
Even when she's upset,
they're not so
well gentlemen. She's like the brokers, the lazy.
Well, yes, all of those. In addition to just power and money, it's also a function of gender. I feel as though men mentally and culturally have been raised and trained to think that they wield some sort of power over women. So you can even find, okay, let's just say it, a broke man still gaslighting a very well educated, a very financially stable, independent lady. It really doesn't matter how much money you have when a person has a hold over your mind. It really doesn't matter. When they work your mind, when they can gaslight, manipulate, blame shift, and make you question your reality of what is actually happening. So of course power is it's a very strong dynamic. But even if you're dating someone who doesn't necessarily have money, they could still be controlling you with many other things, and not necessarily money. And they could also be using your own money to control you, to financially abuse you. So it's a very complex.
That's another video
for another day. Yes, financial abuse.
Yeah. So okay, maybe we can go to the second one. Narcissistic personalities. Narcissistic personalities. A narcissist is your enemy, and the worst. Actually, this is the worst kind. I can't even think of another worst kind, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Kwams, you can tell us a little more about that.
So I feel that we usually use the word narcissist very loosely nowadays, because it's become one of those buzzwords. You know, like those words we like saying, like, oh, I'm so woke, or something. So like clit and finesse, like all these words that we use in our urban language, sort of it. And narcissism has become one of those things. My fear is that I don't want it to be used colloquially so often that then we lose the meaning and the seriousness behind who really a narcissist is. So a lot of research has been done on narcissists, but how I go about it, my personal definition of a narcissist is that the devil found a way to replicate himself on earth Yes, and he did it.
No, just
this
narcissist. Take that back. We need to hear that one more time.
Yes. I think for me, genuinely, and we look at things from a very rational, logical, spiritual angle. But for me, with my experience with narcissists, is that these are people who basically the devil just came back to earth and replicated himself in people, and these people are just narcissists, and it's an experience I wouldn't want
on your worst enemy.
For anyone.
What are some of the characteristics of narcissists? How do they behave? How do you know, like, okay, oh my god, this is a narcissist?
So a narcissist usually is a function of circumstances, environment, and genetic makeup. Some people are predisposed to being narcissistic, but what triggers this narcissistic tendency is the sort of environment that they go through. So in my reading and in my research in trying to understand how people can actually manifest such horrid behavior, what really caused it. So you could find it's people who grew up in very difficult environments, and perhaps with equally narcissistic, controlling, manipulative parents, or people who underwent through very serious bullying in their formative years and didn't have the necessary skills to overcome it, and their way to get back at the world was to be narcissistic. A narcissist is a person who operates from a level of a false sense of reality. They are very grandiose. I don't think they have and then they lack a level of humanity and empathy, and they're not able to really rationalize emotions the way regular well-adjusted human beings are able to do. So anything that they don't agree with, or any opposing idea, anything that doesn't align to what they believe is true, they then perceive it as a direct attack on them, that then they have to respond to in a very defensive, in a very severe and harsh way. So that's a narcissist to me.
Okay. I think for me, what stands out about narcissists is the lack of empathy. I feel like for me that's the number one characteristics, and also in my experience of being around narcissists, it's just they don't care how you feel, and they have no capacity to understand other people's feelings. They can't place themselves in a oh my god, I did this, how must this other person feel? It's always about me. You did this to me, and this was a direct attack on my pride, and you did this, and it's my ego, and because of that I will act in the most they do the most drastic things that you even left wondering what
just happened. Yes. Another way you can know you're with a narcissist is when you have been wronged and you rightfully know you have been wronged, but in confronting the narcissist you find yourself apologizing for something wrong that was done.
Don't we know it?
Yes.
Don't we know
it's a very quick way.
I know you cheated on me, but I'm sorry that I didn't make the home a good place for you. It's my fault. I didn't make myself desirable. I didn't make myself hot, and I didn't cook for you. And so it was well within your rights to have cheated on me. That's oh my god, I didn't think of that.
And it could be the worst and the most horrible things that they could have done to you, but they're expert blame shifters, which is a technique that most manipulators use. They know and they can identify empaths. The same way a wolf can sense blood somewhere, is the same way they can enter a room and they can really scan quickly
for empaths
and find an empath, because an empath is easy to groom, easy to manipulate. Empaths are known for their poor boundaries or lack thereof.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so they thrive.
I feel like you're speaking to Kayla.
Oh no, not me.
Not like that, but you're a lot of things are coming to you.
Yes.
It's clicking.
That's true.
It's clicking. So then, because empaths are generally known to have or to be afraid to enforce boundaries and reiterate that a line has been drawn in the sand, don't cross it. So narcissists thrive. They thrive with empaths. I mean, their traits really do thrive in empaths. And it's put in most research, to put it in an easy way that everyone can understand, their darkness is always drawn to other people's light with the intention to extinguish it.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Is there an element of use in an empath? They like to use you for stuff?
Oh, of course. it's the only way a narcissist looks at a person in terms of how much use can I get out of you.
Yes.
So narcissists usually, and I mean girls, I don't know, you may have an opposing idea, but narcissists, even in terms of their love language, a person who, like, a man comes and tells you my love language is acts of service. Yes. I mean, and it's okay, that could be his love language, but it's usually an indicator, a possible indicator about a person who wants to get as much use as they want out of you. Narcissists are perennial and consistent takers. They take. And when they give, it's very calculated, it's very strategic. When they give, it's with the intention of getting back threefold and tenfold.
Yes, and you know, actually, one of the things that I think we can all be in agreement with, just based on what Kwame has said, is that narcissists, and I would just say enemy boyfriends in general, are very compatible with pick-me's. And very compatible with ride or dies. Okay, the women that have delegated themselves to be the warriors, the ones that are at the front lines of war, you know,
they need to go to Ukraine as a matter of fact.
They need to be deployed to aid in the Ukrainian and Russian conflict.
You're wasting your talent.
The ones that are riding and dying for men. The moment you come in contact with the narcissists, you find that bond, it's another one.
No,
it is so hard to detangle from
strong.
Because if you guys remember, we said that pick-me's are women that prioritize the feelings of men to their detriment. So imagine you're already predisposed to prioritizing the feelings of somebody that is hurting you repeatedly, and then you find that in that situation that person is a narcissist.
Game over.
It's a very difficult one. And you know, the narcissist's initial strategy is to love bomb. There's a cycle. So research has shown that the first stage with your encounter with a narcissist, it's very ideal, it's very dreamy, it's almost too good to be true. But what they're doing is they're mentally grooming you for the abuse that's going to come later on.
So that you're holding on to
the good times.
Then you're like, no, this is not who he really is.
It's not.
So mentally you're in the good times. Oh my God.
The good times. So it's usually a 3-stage phase. The first stage is called love bombing, where it's gifts, it's beautiful dates, it's trips out of the country,
words of affirmation,
and they give you, and they're really genuinely, as in, you can't, it's very difficult to perceive that they're pretending. I mean, the sort of attention that they give you, how emotionally they're invested in you and what you like to do and things like that. They're basically they're learning you. They're learning you in a holistic way, so that eventually when they rain hard with the abuse, they know all the points that they can really find you at. Then the middle stage is now devaluation, because you're so hung up on the good times from the love bombing stage. They come in and then they start devaluing you. So it's either you're not good enough, they pit you against other women, they start
they play on your vulnerabilities.
They play on your vulnerabilities.
That I have already learned.
And so the devaluation stage is now where, and this is most survivors of narcissistic abuse usually say, it's usually like the first time the mask sort of slips, and then you get a glimpse of what this person really is, but you don't believe it because you were so used to it. Even your brain in itself, it's so full of the good chemicals and the endorphins that were released when you're going through the love bombing stage. So what you go through is what therapists call cognitive dissonance, where you're confronted with a horrible person, but this horrible person was so good just a few weeks ago. So it's a very, very difficult place to be, and most survivors actually wish that they left the first time the mask slipped. Yes, that's when they wish they left, but mostly because of the love bombing, it's difficult, so you stay there. So it's systematic devaluation on yourself, your looks, your accomplishments. You're just not good enough. And then now the final stage is the discard. And this is when you least expect it. It happens, actually, yes, it's when you're laughing. The discard happens when you least expect it, but it's very systematic, strategic, and well planned out by the narcissist. So they basically discard you from their lives. And
after they've taken everything, after they've shed your esteem to pieces, you're basically nothing. They've left you as a shell, but it's only temporarily enough. Then they come back, and it's a technique called hoovering. They hoover around, they come back every now and then. They come to check.
Yes, they come to check.
No, I'm telling you. If you're still, if you don't get sense.
So if you haven't developed the tools within, after the discard, the requisite tools to sort of gain your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth back. When he comes back to hoover, you're not mentally strong and able, so then he comes back and takes over your life, and we go back to stage one.
Yeah, and that time all your girls are like, you can't
I'm holding you back. You know?
When you go, you just come back, you're like, so guys, he brought me flowers, he said he loves me. And then all the girls are just like,
exactly. And that cycle just goes on for so many women. It really never ends.
Years of your life.
We were just saying, one conversation we had at some time back, we were saying that narcissists are really charming people. The way they present to other people, when you tell somebody that this is the guy I'm dealing with, they'll tell you you're crazy. They're like, it must be you must be the problem, because that guy, he's a good guy, he's a kind guy, he's so funny, he's so generous. But when you say, oh, this guy, he really mistreats me and emotionally abuses me, it's like, what?
They can't fathom that this person
can reconcile those two personalities.
That's terrible.
And sometimes it's like a closely held secret between you and himself how horrible he can be. Because with other people,
that is deep, right? That is so deep.
Because with other people, he's so kind, he's so gentlemanly. When you guys are in public, he is the one, you know, pulling out the chairs for the ladies. Everyone, you know, is everyone, you know, relaxed. More drinks, guys. I want all of you guys to have fun. Like, he's such a nice, caring, a deeply caring person. But on that table, you're the only one who knows. And it's a deeply held secret between you and him. Yes, of what he really is like.
Oh my god. That's terrible. And I think I can also ask, like, how do narcissists act when you tell them, like, man, this is really painful, you did this and I'm hurt, you want to talk about it? What do they do?
So for me, in my own experience, was instant opposite attack on an instant and opposite attack on what I just said. So for example, if I say, why would you do this to me after all I've done for you? The response will be, after all you've done for me, what about what I have done for you? You know, there's that. And then for example, when you say, you know, this really hurt me, they try and then pick and then they engage you in something that's called, what therapists call, narcissistic word salad. Now guys, it's called narcissistic word salad. Have you ever been in a conversation with your boyfriend? You know that he's wrong, but you're trying to really explain to him that this is what you did that made me upset, but you're not getting through. And then you think, if I just maybe change and use this word or use this argument,
he will understand.
And then the whole time he's basically keeping you in a loop. It's like a cycle. You know how you mix a salad? How you mix a salad. You're not getting to the point. He's probably even bringing stories that are not related to what you're saying.
So then he's telling you it's your fault now.
Exactly. So now that technique is called narcissistic word salad, and it happens when you confront a narcissist. You end up having arguments that go in a loop as though you're mixing a salad, and you don't get to any cognitive or substantive end.
Then you start again. So you're like, let me just leave that argument.
For the sake of
give up.
You give up. You actually throw in the towel.
So then what happens? It's a strategy that narcissists have been known to use to weaken your mind, so that the next time you want to start an argument, you're not able to do it because of the sort of mental energy you know you have to assert to be able to have an argument, or to prove a point, or to bring a point home.
So you start letting them get away with more because you just don't have the mental energy.
And not only that, you are operating from a constant place of fear. You know, because, and again, we mentioned earlier that pick-me's find themselves to be the best partners for narcissists, because what happens is, as a pick-me, sometimes you're not able to even leave a situation because you're constantly operating from a place of fear, you know, because this narcissist has convinced you in the love bombing stage that I'm the only one who can love you this way, you know, I'm the only one who can care for you to the extent that I'm caring for you. You know, I'm the only one, I'm the only man in your life. It's me and you, babe, till the end. And so you find yourself
the end of your life.
And Kila, what you're saying is, they actually within that period of time when they're showing you that I'm the only person in your life, they have also simultaneously isolated you from other people, from voices of reason. From voices of reason. So if you find that you had a girlfriend who used to speak sense to you, who used to tell you,
your boyfriend now doesn't like you.
Like you know, the way I saw your boyfriend handle you that time, the way he spoke to you, I don't know. And then when he gets word that there's someone in your circle.
He's going to sniff them out.
He's saying, of course, oh, they're so good at sniffing those friends, you know. And then all of a sudden, then you know, he gaslights you to think your friend is the enemy.
Yeah.
So then you get rid of all the voices of reason in your circle. Do you know it's possible to be dating a narcissist? You're probably even still living in your mother's house, but you don't see your mom, you don't see your family, you don't see your sisters, because all your waking hours outside of work or school are spent
with the narcissist.
With the narcissist, such as that the tail end of a relationship, perhaps even 3 years, you wake up and you're like, what happened? And your family just tell you, we lived with you, but we didn't see you for 3 years, because they actually remove you physically from the people that love you, from the people that can bring light and reasoning to you, to leave them. So usually it's a tactic. Isolation and fear is a tactic that they use.
It is. And I think also just as women, we are created to want and to desire love, you know, and I feel like that's why we find ourselves normally the more vulnerable ones in a relationship. And the reason why I was saying earlier that pick-me's find themselves susceptible to being like the best partners for narcissists is because they play on that fear of your desire to be loved, you know, your desire to feel wanted, your desire to be within that relationship context, or to find security in that relationship context. So they convince you that they are your security, right? They are the man, your man, the man of your dreams and all this. And then you even find yourself incapable of asserting your needs and desires and how you would ideally wish to be treated, because you're like, what if they leave me? Okay, fine, he's doing all these things, but then when I look at it from the weighing scale of, I would rather he's here than
elsewhere,
being without him, you know. Then you convince yourself. That's how you start kind of, you know, brushing off arguments, compromising your desires and needs, and the standard that you want to be treated within a relationship, you know.
But I also wanted to ask, in terms of safety, emotional safety and physical safety, if I'm with a narcissist, do I feel safe? Do I feel like I can go and say, you know, baby, this is what happened, this is the day I had, these are the challenges I'm facing, without feeling like I'm burdensome? Because I remember one time my mom and we had an altercation, and she really didn't want me, like, we both didn't want to be in the same space. At that time I was seeing someone, and I remember thinking like the most logical thing to do in such a situation is to go to your boyfriend's house. And I just remember thinking and pondering about going to stay with that guy, and I broke into tears. And I went and I was like, I told my mom, like, Mom, I can't, I'm so sorry, like, please, let's just sort it out. And she's like, but why can't you just go? You stay there, cool off. I mean, cool off, let's just. And I was like, no, I can't. Is that like signs of being with a narcissist, when you don't feel emotionally safe? Intrinsically, I will know from my own experience, there's something in your heart and in your mind that constantly tells you that you're not safe. But because the narcissist has weakened your ability to think and to reason, and the false perception of safety that they provide you, the false perception of safety that they provide you, so you may think you're safe, but intrinsically there's always something in your heart that's telling you that that you're not particularly safe. So no, you know, a narcissist sometimes, because of their inconsistency, you know that you cannot rely on them. But the problem then comes when you try and seek safety elsewhere.
They can't have it. They'd rather what?
But it's true, it's a false sense of safety, because before the difficult thing happens, they're like, no, but I've got you, you know, it's gonna be okay. But when the thing goes south is when you realize you're on your own. And then they wait for the storm to pass, then they're back. Of course. They wait until you come out of that place of insecurity where they have to do all this work. Then they wait until you feel better, then they're like, anyway, so how was it? How was all that? When you're back to when you can serve their needs and when they don't have to serve your needs.
Of course.
Do you think?
No, and what you're describing, Mora, is generally now the pick-me's and the vulnerable empaths. What you're providing the narcissist with is psychologically known as supply. Narcissistic supply. So you see the narcissist, from the very difficult environments that they grew in, where they were not emotionally affirmed, they probably lived with very abusive parents, went to school and were bullied. They're walking around with a gap and a hole in their heart that needs to be satisfied with a consistent and constant attention of an empath. So what you're providing is that supply, and a narcissist goes through life seeking this supply from every single person, from the spouses, the children, the bosses, their employees. And what happens is they tend to get bored with your supply. That's when they get bored. Yes, they get bored.
They're like, already know this one,
because narcissists are very brilliant and they have different sources of supply.
Yes,
right. So when they're seeing you and they're like, I'm bored, they also tend to get bored very quickly.
So that means that they're serial cheaters too,
so
right?
then so they devalue and then they discard you. They devalue and discard you, and then they go and get
So you threw that in there? No, okay, let's just. Have you realized that I've just come to a realization within this video?
Yes, cheaters. So probably he has 5 or 6 or 7 girlfriends. So he goes to the next girlfriend. By the time he's bored with her supply, he remembers you're there.
Yes.
So
because you're there, and that's the fact.
Because you're there.
And they monitor.
Yes.
Like, I know the narcissist I'm dealing with. You're watching me, and don't come back. Okay. I know you're watching me. Don't try to contact me. It's over. Hey, those people, they monitor and they hoover.
Clear warning.
No, me, I'm not joking.
Beware.
They monitor and they hoover. So they're never really gone. They're around looking for their chance.
Always around. So what Mora is saying, and what Mora has effected, what Mora has put in place is a technique and a strategy for overcoming narcissistic abuse, which is called no contact. And what therapists and psychologists usually recommend is to go for a period of 90 days without talking to your narcissistic abuser. But you have to remember, they're also very brilliant, like I said. So they will try and reach you through all avenues. First of all, you block them on WhatsApp, you block them on Telegram, or you block them, they can't call you directly. Then their emails as well. I suggest that you their emails. I suggest that you spam them. I suggest that you send their emails directly to spam so that you don't receive them. But remember, if you guys had then mutual friends, they try and get to you through mutual friends. And when they're not able to, they try and manipulate and create situations where they need help.
They're like, so it's so
so, and this is situations that you've had people who fake cancer, right?
Yes.
People who fake cancer, people who fake illnesses, things like that, to try and sort of get you back.
Is this suicide too? I'm going to kill myself.
Yes.
I'm going to kill myself, die.
Here's a rope.
That is insane, thinking about it.
Yes. So the good thing is, within 90 days, it's a long enough period because narcissists get bored very, very quickly. And when they see it, usually it's true.
What they say?
It's true. So the 90 days gives you enough time, and this 90 days is not only to just block them and initiate no contact. It's time for you to build that mental strength that you lost when you were with a narcissist. My suggestion is that you enroll with a very good therapist who's highly skilled and highly trained with dealing with patients of narcissistic abuse. I personally wouldn't get to the place where I am at without the therapy that I got. And sometimes you may have, and you know, when you meet the therapist, you have to be upfront. This is what I'm going through. Are you equipped to do this? Because you can go to different therapists and you're not making any progress. So I mean, by the grace of God, got a very firebrand, very, very modern, a very young, particularly young therapist who was able to, because I remember I was suffering from the throes of gaslighting. I could not remove my manipulator's voice from my head, you know, and it's 3 or 6 months post no contact, but still, because of the sort of blame shifting that happened when they hoovered and came back, and how I questioned my reality, and because at that point I totally believed that I was on the wrong. But I think therapy then gave me the ability to assess the situation, and my therapist really gave me the skills, and she told me forthright, you were a victim of narcissistic abuse and the blame shifting happened, and now you're blaming yourself. And she gave me the requisite tools to step back and look at the situation holistically. And right now I can stand and I can sit here and I can actually sort of talk about it. You know,
I'm so proud of
We're so proud of you, honey.
Oh, thank you, girls. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
just you know, there are people who have narcissistic traits but are not really narcissists.
Yeah.
And I feel like all these things we've talked about, the manipulation, the gaslighting, they are all those people who do that to you are your enemy. So let's say I've watched this video till this point and I've realized, okay, I'm with my enemy, what do I do now? Like, what are the next steps? So Kwamboka has already said therapy. She highly recommends therapy.
No contact. The first one is
no contact,
and then
therapy. And let's maybe talk about like other steps I can make by myself, maybe if I can't afford therapy right now. So what can I do? I think I would start off by saying that know that your friends and your family, they love you and you can always go back.
Yes.
These situations, they fill you with so much shame. You wonder, where am I going to start from? They have alienated you from everybody. You fought with everybody who loves you in your life. They've just said, if that's what you want to do, cool, but I can't be part of that. So they've all left and now you're just there like,
you're alone.
You're alone. But just know that you can go back, go and tell them, you know, man, this is what I was going through and I'm so sorry, and I know that I'm taking time to recover, but just be open with them and they will take you back. And also you can just talk to us here. We will be there for you. We know it's hard.
Always.
Yeah.
So my strategy would be for any person in a relationship right now that you suspect is narcissistic. And girls, remember, it gets more complicated for women who have children with narcissists. Yes, it becomes a little bit more complicated. So I'll start with the girls who are single and have no attachment in the form of a child. First of all is to find a way to go no contact at all. So therapists first of all prescribe 90 days. It's the easiest, and then after 90, then you can stretch it out to another 90, so 6 months. You do it incrementally, but within that time you're seeing a therapist, etc. But remember, therapy is very expensive, especially in this country.
$50 a session.
It's very, very expensive, and not so many people can have that disposable income to be spending on 3 therapy sessions or 4 therapy sessions in a month. You know, in a month, it's very expensive. So what I encourage people is that information has been democratized, girls, and you can read and read and read. Reading is so powerful.
Absolutely.
And the sort of information, groundbreaking information that has been published on narcissists is amazing. It gives you those skills that perhaps your therapist doesn't even know. You know, you cannot afford to be intellectually lazy. Read. And remember, you're your own first therapist. Before you go to a friend, before you go to another, you have the skills as an adult. You're meant to be well adjusted enough to be able to sort some things on a level before you go and seek help. So it's okay for me. My encouragement to girls is to read around abuse, so that when you're being abused or when you encounter yourself in a similar situation, you're alive to what is actively happening to you.
Absolutely.
And I would recommend a book that I absolutely love. It's called Being the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare. Yes, Being the Narcissist. So it's a survival guide on how to thrive post narcissistic abuse, and then basically just going back into your talents and your passion projects, because then those things that make you come alive, when they consume you, you have very little time to reach out to to your narcissist. And then of course the people who loved you before the narcissist came into your life still do. You may have fallen apart, but I think for me it was realizing that the people who loved me still did. You know, long after the whole humiliating situation with the discard happened. Yes. And then always being alive to the fact that there are people in your circle who could be, what I was telling Kayla, flying monkeys. Yes. No, it's actually a term. Yes, it's a term.
It's a real term, but every time I hear it,
it's funny,
right? Into laughter.
It's funny. So it comes from the Wizard of Oz, where the evil witch would use some flying monkeys to go and do evil deeds.
I remember.
On her behalf. So now narcissists usually have their troop of flying monkeys, and it could be, they have the troop of flying monkeys. Yeah, they have the troop of flying monkeys.
Yes.
It's family members, it's mutual friends that then they usually then feed with words to come and abuse you on their behalf. Yes. So sometimes when it comes to no contact, especially now with women who have children, the children go over a weekend to spend time with him and his new wife or his new girlfriend, and then they come back acting weird, perhaps because they've been told your mom is this way, your mom is that way.
That is so heartbreaking.
I just say, I know of a situation right now of a friend I was talking to. The narcissist is actually manipulating her parents against her.
But
It's
the
very
narcissists, they do that.
They do that. They do that.
They can even make your mom fight you.
They can make your own mother and even your own father kick you out of your own house or disown you. They have that power. So because they're very charming.
Yeah.
So they have that ability to do that. So I think it's also important to identify who are the flying monkeys.
Yes.
In your circle.
Mm-hmm.
And find a way to leave them.
Yeah.
For people who have to have constant communication, who have to be in constant communication with narcissists. For example, you have a child, you use a technique called the grey rock method.
Okay.
So you only talk on things that you have to talk on. For example, the children's welfare and things around them, their health, schooling, etc. And in this grey rock method, because narcissists, they like baiting. What they do, they say something, or they trigger you, or they throw in something, or they say something that riles you up, and you just want to attack and respond. So in the grey rock method, you're encouraged to be neutral.
Okay.
Be neutral. Don't get emotionally riled up. When they try and bait you to be angry, remain neutral, because they are going for a reaction. The best way is to not give them that particular reaction that they're looking for. So girls, if you have children with narcissists, or if you suspect you have a child with a narcissist, I think the grey rock method, or if you're currently in an active relationship with a narcissist, because the truth is it's so difficult to extricate yourself immediately. Today, now I'm off. So that is it, there's some techniques that help you ease out, and that grey rock method of acting in a very emotionally neutral way,
it's one of them.
Yes, it works.
Kayla?
I would say that we cannot be blind to the fact that soul ties really contribute to to having a difficulty in separating yourself with a narcissist, right? Because ideally what a soul tie is once you make physical or sexual contact with your partner, then you have a merging of souls, right? Your mind, your body, your spirit, every facet of your being is merged with another person to form one, right? And because of that, you find that all those layers, right? We've talked about how narcissists, they use your mind to control you. They have all these techniques that they use to manipulate you, right? And then when you add that level of a soul tie, which is a very intricate bond that you have with this person, it becomes increasingly difficult for you to assert boundaries, right? Because sometimes they know the buttons to push, right? They know it doesn't matter. They know you in and out, so they know exactly what to press. They know how to get to you in the most intimate ways, and that makes it even harder. You can go for therapy, you can go for all these things, but then if you have not found a way to detangle yourself from that soul tie, and the way that you do that, girls, you have to know God. At this point, I need to tell you, you need to know God, okay? You need to find your identity in Christ. You need the power of the Holy Spirit sometimes to untangle yourself. Because again, remember, we define these people as the devil made manifest on the earth, right? That means that they have every arsenal within them to make sure that they have complete and total control over you. And sometimes I would say, honestly, you need to pray to God, because sometimes you don't even have the power to detangle yourself from this person. You need to ask God to remove this person from the country. Guys, this is not a joke. Guys, this is not a joke. This is something I've done. You need to pray to God to remove this person from vicinity, so that it's not even up to you to not have any contact. God has already done that on your behalf, okay? Because this, as you have noticed, whatever we are talking about here, these are not small issues. And I believe that apart from the physical world that we live in, we are very pertinent to a spiritual realm, right? And the Bible extremely says that we are not fighting against flesh or blood, but against higher principalities, right? And I'm telling you,
I used to say that verse over and over in my head when I was recovering from narcissistic, from my gaslighting.
Look at that.
Because I remember at some point, like, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't, like, sometimes even in the afternoon at work, I couldn't work at all. And I remember in my head, I'd constantly say, you know, we're not fighting against you know, against flesh, but against powers and principalities.
Absolutely.
So there's a whole spiritual language to it.
It is. And you need to know that God actually cares about the pain that you're going through. Because people that are in relationships with enemy boyfriends, the reality is you're going through a lot of pain. Fine, they have those moments where they can love bomb you and for 2 seconds you feel like everything is okay.
Yes.
But we know how painful it is. We know how emotionally draining it is. And you need to know that God cares so much about your life, because he didn't bring you to this life to suffer. Like Christ came so we could have life and life in abundance. And a life of abundance does not include dealing with an enemy boyfriend, first of all. So you need to go back to God and see, how can I find my identity in Christ? What does the Bible say about the kind of strength that the Holy Spirit can give me within the situation? Because the Bible is very clear. If you only ask God, if you only seek, like the Bible literally says, like our earthly fathers are so good to us. You can't go to your father and ask him for a fish and he gives you a snake. How much more does your heavenly father care about so deeply about the things that are happening in your life? And it affirms us again that the Holy Spirit gives you the will and the power to do the things that are pleasing to God. And that involves getting out of a relationship with an enemy boyfriend. Okay?
God has given you the power.
You have the power. You are not powerless. Because I feel like a lot of these situations make women feel so powerless. It's like, okay, now I don't know how to get myself out of the situation. This guy, he does this, he does that. You have the power. You
in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name,
Amen.
to get out of that situation, women. I am telling you. And the moment that you tap into that power,
but also I think like it's important for you to know you should get yourself out of the situation as soon as possible, because the longer you stay, the harder it becomes. The next thing you're pregnant, the next thing you have is baby, the next thing you are 38 with nowhere to turn. That's nowhere. All your years, and then he's like, where are you going to go?
Where are you going
to go? Why? You're 38. You have 2 kids. I mean, where are you going to go? And he's going to be like, anyway, where you're going, leave my children here. Those are your children. You can't leave them, so you now have to stay. So the sooner you take the action, the better for you. Because these people, they are interested in keeping you down as long as they can. And I think the other thing we forgot to say about enemy boyfriends is that they do not empower you at all. They don't tell you, honey, go to school, honey, you know, rise in your career, but they're only interested in you doing those things when it benefits them, when you can make more money so that they don't have to support you. But after that, they want you to be home at 5:30. So I just think it's really important for you to know that the sooner you do it, the better. And secondly, you have to give yourself the tools. Put yourself out of a situation of manipulation the best way you can. Find a job, go to school, read more. You can't be in a place where this guy is giving you all the money, you have no income, and you want to come out of the narcissistic situation right now. You can't. You have to go, even if it's an internship, even if it's a volunteer role. Do your best in that volunteer role. And I am telling you, find purpose, and God will bless you. God will see, this is my child and she's making the initiative to come out of this situation, and so I will be with her, so I will bless her. So you have to take steps. You cannot just sit down and be praying. It's okay, pray, but you also have to take steps and be like, I must remove myself out of this situation by going to school. I have to get a job. I have to start a business. I have to reconcile with my parents. I have to. So I think that's really also important.
Absolutely.
So I think we will link in the end of this video some resources, some books. Kwabuka, what is that book that
it's called Being the Narcissist's Worst Nightmare?
But the other one that you read, the one by Chidera Eggerue.
What a time to be alone.
She has a book called What a Time to Be Alone, and another one called How to Get Over a Boy. Those 2 books come highly recommended. So these 3 books. I think we should give away 1 book. We would love to share with us your experience. Of course, we won't share it with anyone else, and we will send the book to you so that you can have the skills that you need to come out of the situation. But otherwise, girls, we love you. Please feel free to reach out to us. We'll link Kwamboka's Instagram here so that you can also talk to her. And we hope to hear from you guys soon, and see you in the next video. Bye.